and team captain for the Alabama Crimson Tide, and former Carolina Panther, and his father, Corey Miller, the pastor of pain, a 9-year NFL veteran with the New York Giants, and University of South Carolina Hall of Famer. This is the Miller's Edge.
Everybody, here on a Monday, Corey Miller, the pastor of pain, alongside Christian Miller, Noah Haynes, here with you to get you through the next 2 hours right here on the Tide 100.9, 1230 AM WTBC. Hope you are doing well on this beautiful, sunny, chilly, but not too bad today. We're getting a little warmer in the temps. Had a very cold weekend, but we survived, and we are here. And we got you going for the next couple of hours here on the program. I don't know why this mic is going on my live. I got it muted, but let me see here one quick second.
You just turn your sound down and you'll be good.
Hope you're doing good.
There you go.
I was saying something with my setup, but I don't know what's going on with my setup.
We got to get now.
No, you're good now. I think you had your sound playing in the background of the stream, but it's all good. It's a Monday.
Anyway, no, I just didn't. My other laptop that I used, some reason, didn't charge up. And so I have forced to use my Celly on the YouTube Edge app, so you can get it right there. You can watch us, in your office, hide from your boss in your cubicle, or you can download, which we always ask you to download the Tide 100.9 free app. So it's there. You can leave your questions, your comments, your thoughts. You can even do a voice there that my good friend Noah, who excellent reader, but also will play that if you want to leave a message to that app as well. So we got a lot of things to do. 205-342-9904 is the number for the program. If you want to call and be a part of the show, we definitely will take your phone calls, do the best that we can on that as well. But let me just give you a little bit before I turn it over to Tuscaloosa here of what we got. We're going to talk a little bit of golf. Everybody's talking about Alabama golf, not so much their golf team, but a particular player. We'll tell you about that in just a moment, how he got it done on the pro level and not get one dime. Is that fair? We'll talk about that, get your thoughts and comments on that. Of course, we continue to talk Alabama football. Had some news coming this weekend after the visits. Nothing really shocking, but we'll tell you about those, talk about that a little bit as well. College basketball for the men wasn't good for the Tide at Tennessee. Good old Rocky Top put the beat down on Alabama. Now they got to get ready for the in-state rival game against Auburn. We can get into some of that. NFL playoffs is going on. What great games over the weekend. I don't know about you, but I watched all of them. A lot of great football games. We're set now for the AFC and the NFC championship games. The winner of those games next weekend goes to Vegas. No, not to gamble, but for the Super Bowl. So we'll talk about that as well. So we're going to be all over the place a little bit today, unless something just takes over, which it normally does. We got a lot to get into, guys. Great sports weekend. If you're into just sports in general, a lot of great things going on, and we can get into. Hope y'all had a great weekend. Good Monday to you.
Good Monday to you. Yeah, I mean, I'm surprised you didn't mention the big recruiting weekend that everybody was raving about over social media. We had our first big recruiting weekend with Coach DeBoer, and we definitely can dive into that. Talk about the guy.
I did mention the recruiting. I said the recruiting. Alabama football.
Okay, good. Well, yeah, we got a couple of recruits that we'll talk about. 2 commitments, I believe. Was it 3? Might have been 3. I can't remember. We'll dive into that. Just something to talk about and speak on kind of what that means. I kind of went back and watched like what these guys bring, and I think they definitely will be some valuable pieces moving forward. So we'll go ahead and talk about that as well. But I do want to give props to Nick though for that big win, Nick Dunlap. Talk about a big. I mean, I don't think that's been done in. I think they said 30-something years. The last person to do it was Phil Mickelson, and yeah, I mean it was impressive, man. I just what I don't understand is how with NIL how he couldn't get the earnings from that, right? I don't understand that. Like, how does that work?
It's the rules, man. You're an amateur. That's why, like now, NIL, these football players. I'm sorry, don't again. These football players are getting money and people are upset about it.
Right. Yeah, that's that I don't understand, but maybe I don't know. They can figure something out. Obviously, he's getting a lot of exposure from winning, but I would be mad. I know if it was me, I would want some type of compensation. But I see somebody was saying it's a PGA rule, not an NCAA rule, so that would make sense. Nonetheless, though, he is a tour champion, but that's phenomenal, right? I mean, but this guy, I mean, he's been playing his tail off. What was it that he won the? I'm trying to think of what he won last year, or whatever it was he won last year. But anyway, it looks like we got another really good golfer on our hands. But doesn't surprise me though. Coach Seal does a really nice job with that program, and shout out to him. I reached out to Cannon Claycomb, who I'm friends with. He's another member of the golf team, another really good golfer. I'm gonna see if he's available to hop on here, kind of talk about his experience, because there was video of those guys on the what is it, like the van, like the Sprinter van they were watching. Matter of fact, he just reached out. Oh, well, I'll see if I can get him on here in a little bit, but we'll work on that. But anyway, I thought that was really cool to see him get another big victory.
I'm sitting here trying to figure out different things. I got a lot of different things going on here today, but that's all good. That'll be a good gap because he knows him very well, as do you. But what that means for the Alabama golf team. But Nick Dunlap was a big-time winner. It's a PGA rule. Phil Mixon back in 1991 did the same thing. Think about being 20 years old to go on a PGA Tour and knowing how difficult it is to win on the tour. And the dude just showed that he is tough-minded. He has stones. He didn't back down. He stayed in it. And it was pretty cool that Justin Thomas, who played at Alabama, who's won numerous times on the tour, one of the best players on the tour, was in his group pairing. So, I know the 1.5, let's just be honest, if you know anything about PGA golf, you know that 1.5 for the winner is not a big purse, right? You got to get in some of these bigger tournaments to get the huge purses. Some of them get way up there for the first place winner. This was 1.5, nothing to sneeze about, nothing to call home about, but he do not get the cash. But here's what he does get. He gets a 2-year exemption on the PGA, which means masters all these tournaments that he will be able to play in. Now, that being said, if you can win on the PGA Tour as a sophomore, right, why would you even, if it was me, or if I was advising him, I'm not playing any more college golf. You can always go back to school and get your degree. Right. Always. You want to make money. And the thing is, he's good enough. If you can win right now at 20, and you got the right work ethic, which I think he does. Alabama has sent numerous golfers out that has done great on the PGA Tour. You're talking about the top 70, whatever it is, 72 maybe. Now he gets an exemption for 2 years. So I know a lot of people talking about the money and all that, but that right there in itself is much more valuable, in my opinion, than getting that money right now. Because if he turns pro and he plays in all these tournaments, I think he's scheduled to play this weekend coming up. You turn pro, one, now you can get money, you can make money. Two, you're talking about all the different sponsors and things like that now that you're able to get, right? Because let's just be real about it. Golf NIL is not going to pay you any money.
They might with him now that he's a tour champion. He's
not going to get the money that some of these guys in college football playing football right now, the Isaiah Bonds, people up there in the transfer portal, he's not going to get the money that they get. He's not, because golf just don't, unless you get on a tour and win consistently, right, you're not going to get that kind of money. So you would think, well, we can keep him here at Alabama, NIL deal, this stuff. He's not going to make that kind of money. Nobody goes out to watch college golf. Who goes out to watch college golf? Nobody. I love golf. I play in a lot of tournaments every year. But the thing is, I know in college, there's not a big following of college golf. But the only way he can make some huge money, and he might not like what I'm getting ready to say, but if he entertained the Live Tour, they're paying big dollars.
They are.
Maybe he's the type of guy, young, he's hot right now, he's been playing extremely well. Maybe he's the guy that will entertain, whether you support Live or not, but seems like Rory and guys like that, they're backpedaling based on the Live Tour. But I'm just saying, if I'm a golfer, they're offering $75, $100, $200 million. Are you crazy? Why wouldn't you take that money?
Yeah.
Like, I'm over the people. No. You're talking about lifestyle, generational lifestyle. Why wouldn't you take that kind of money? So if Dunlap, I would definitely, I get me an agent, I would entertain, see what they got, because he might be able to take that win and parlay that into huge Benjamins, right? Because,
Yeah.
I would. I don't know about you, Christian, but, I can be, hey, PGA, I understand the Jack Nicklaus and Tiger and Arnold Palmer and all the big names, Sam Snead. We can go on and what it means for the PGA Tour. I get all of that. But at the end of the day, if you can make money that's generational, life-changing, why wouldn't you do it? That's just my opinion.
Yeah, no, I feel that. But I'm just, man, I still would be mad I missed out on, I think the purse was $1.5 million. I know you said
Right.
all those other things are great. The exemptions and all the other perks and benefits, 100%. That is awesome. But to me, I'm not going to forget the money that I just missed out on, $1.5 million, just because of the rules. I mean, especially after performance like that. 12 under 60 in that third round, and then he sinks that 6-foot putt to win it. I don't know, man. I wanted the money from winning. I get what you're saying about getting you some Live Tour money, but I thought they were supposed to. Didn't they announce they were trying to come together again? Or
They are. I think everybody's not going to say Rory McIlroy, who was very, very outspoken, who is one of the leaders of the PGA Tour. Right. Very outspoken against the Live Tour, and really went at players who decided to go participate. But I know something, down the road for sure. Not golf season is kicking off. We'll have a lot of pro golfers on with us. You guys like Jim Furyk and other big names that I can get and ask them, because they've been around. I know Jim's going to tell you more about the PGA and why you choose that route, because that's who he is. He's one of the highest winners on tour as far as money making. And maybe we'll get him on to talk about it. But listen, right now, show me the money. Can I get a cash register sound, please? Show me the money. Because, listen, who's going to pay you generational, life-changing money to play golf? You play in your shorts. You get rid of all these stubby rules. I went to the Masters numerous times, and they take your cell phone, man. You can't even have your cell phone on the course. You got to walk around. Come on, man. Even though the food is great, it's cheap. The pimento cheese sandwiches are to die for. Yes, they're good and they're cheap. That's cool. It's an experience. It's beautiful. But boy, golf could be snooty golfers. I don't like that. It would be like cigar smoking, drive your car wherever. I like that kind of golf. Fun, short. That's what Live is, man. They have a good time. They have music out there. And you can do all of that and play a little golf, man. That's some of the nicest courses. See outside. Why would you take that money? All right, we got to hit a break. We got people on the phone already. 205-342-9904. Don't forget to download the Tide 100.9 app. It's absolutely FREE free. And Noah Haynes will read those for you there. Don't forget, we are streaming live on our YouTube TV channel. It ain't TV, but it's YouTube. And it's a channel. And we're live. And you can get it right there, too. Put questions right there and be a part of our show, The Miller's Edge, right there. We're sponsored by good friends at the Good Feet Store, America's Art Support Experts. Go see Doug's and the good people at Midtown Village. Try before you buy. They'll take extremely good care of you. Quick time out. We'll continue this conversation. We got a lot of stuff to delve into today on the program. I hope you're ready to go, because now we're set up and I am ready to go right here on the Miller's Edge on Tide 100.9. We are the home of Alabama Crystal Sports. Back in a moment.
What's going on, everybody? Hope y'all are doing well on this Monday. Sorry, we kind of had to get some stuff fixed. I think what happened was he was using his phone for the stream and it was echoing. So I'm gonna have to tell him he can't use that, or else it's going to echo. But nonetheless, we're rolling now. We had to talk about the golf. Nick Dunlap again. If you guys are just tuning in or weren't too familiar with it, he's a sophomore here at Alabama. He just won a pro tour event, the American Express, the American Express tournament or tour event, and we just were talking about how it hasn't been done in 33 years. Last person to do that as an amateur to win a pro event was, I think, Phil Mickelson. So, anyway, we got to dive in that. Let's see what you guys got. I'm a football fan, but when the season ends, it doesn't end for me. There's recruiting news, coaching news. So to all the fans that are jumping ship, stay in the water while the real fans stay dry. Yeah, don't worry, Jeff. I mean, we're definitely going to talk about football majority of the time, but we got to cover big events like that. I mean, that hasn't been done in 33 years. Let me tell him he can't use it. Hey, you're not going to be able to use your phone. Your phone's going to echo. That's why it was echoing. Your phone is playing sound. Yeah, Dr. Crystal. Yeah, that was huge. So yeah, we had to talk about that. We got to, you guys, I'm sure you're aware now, but we are a radio show, so we like to cover a lot of different stuff. We'll dive into some softball, baseball, basketball too. We'll talk a little bit about that, but majority would definitely be football, which we're going to dive into, talk about the big recruiting weekend, the commitments we picked up, what that means, kind of where those guys fit in. So don't worry, we're going to talk about all that and dive into all that stuff. Go Niners.
She wants to do is party all night. Where'd you get that song at, though?
Oh, just the internet.
Oh, that sounds good. I wonder who Roxanne is.
I couldn't tell you, but that's a popular song though.
Yeah, it was big
Yeah,
on
it is.
TikTok a couple years ago.
Yeah, I got the. I'm not on the TikTok, so I wouldn't understand. So I'm a little outdated when it comes to that. 342 9904 free download for your Tide 100.9, or you can get us on YouTube, our extra show. We are streaming live Christians communication in between breaks with you. I'll be back on there here in just a little bit. But,
I
check us out.
got to keep you off of there because that's why it's echoing. Unfortunately, since you're using your phone, I'm not sure we're going to be able to have you on there because it's just going to echo. But it's all right. If you can get that computer charged up, we'll figure it out. But we can still hear you, so it's all good.
All right, good. Yeah, we're good to go. All right. Well, I'll X out of my
I already got
out
you.
of my
You're
YouTube,
good. You're good.
and we'll be good. It was just on. I didn't hear anything just a minute ago, but we're trying to figure out some stuff too as we're doing this new venture here, as we're live doing radio on Tide 100.9, 1230 AM WTBC. No, let's do some phone calls. Let's go to the phone. I know my man Tommy from Romulus. He is excited about Nick Dunlap. I know he's ready to spend some of that earnings, that 1.5 million that he did not get. Tommy, happy Monday.
Happy Monday. Yeah.
How are you?
I'm great. I'm like, go play golf. If they're going to pay you that type of money, go play.
Absolutely.
I'm going to say this, and I'm going to be mean, I guess. I'm sick of hearing politicians, you're not a true American, all this. I have never known a politician to turn down a $5 bill. So when somebody offers me $2.5 billion, I'm going to hit that little white ball.
True.
In Saudi Arabia or Qatar or on the freaking moon like Neil Armstrong did, it's still going, that ball somewhere out in the universe. But
I mean, you would be absolutely crazy not to turn pro at this point. I mean, it's a shame that you can't collect the earnings, the 1.5. I get all that, but the 2-year exempt is huge for all the tournaments, and you're going to make money. You're going to get sponsors. You're going to have, you're going to have the shirt loaded up with all types of sponsors on it. I mean, you're probably going to, as young as he is, like I said, the work ethic got to be there. Can't get really, complacent now that you won, but I think he's the type of guy that will continue to work hard. And you're going to make so much more money playing golf. I mean, you can focus full time instead of, having to worry about going to class.
Yeah, or you're worrying about a 6'6" linebacker hitting you going across the middle. This is a very easy decision, in my opinion. You swing a little glove, you hit a little white ball. I know that little white ball makes you cuss and swear like sailors, but it's okay. Because at one time, I was going down Pensacola on the Navy base. We were checking in, and I watched an officer was wrapping his golf club around the trees. He was so mad.
Dang.
Yeah, I'm like,
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't need to learn about this sport. I'd just rather be stupid on this one, because he just, next thing you know, you saw his bag and club going to the little pond. I'm like, I'm pretty sure somebody else had to go fish that thing out, but he was not happy.
Yeah, I can imagine. Yeah, I mean, I definitely enjoy playing, but don't get me wrong, it definitely is a little frustrating. But that's the thing about golf, man. It's addicting because it's like you keep thinking that next shot is going to be your best shot, and then it's probably not, and you just keep chasing that next hole or whatever it is. But it's definitely fun to get out there. I like being outside, though.
Yeah, and it's fun to play in the summertime, or the spring, the fall, and I don't want to be playing in January right now or last week in Alabama. I don't think so.
No doubt. Well, what'd you think about this weekend, Tommy, with these commitments? As everybody probably knows by now, everybody's probably staying tuned and glued to their phones trying to hear these updates with the first big recruiting weekend that we had. So what were your thoughts on that? Picking up the center, Parker Brailsford, Washington transfer. He was their starting center last season for their Joe Moore award-winning offensive line, and then also Jeremy, drawing a blank now, Jeremy Bernard, wide receiver. Any thoughts on those big pickups?
Well, yeah, it's big because everybody for the last 2 weeks have just relished and rejoiced. You thought it was a revival season. Alabama, Satan is gone. Satan is gone. And we're going. The other thing I hate about the portal, I said I got in trouble Friday for I used a very bad image and a thing. I said, all right, the kids can do what they want to. I understand that. But now they'll accuse Alabama of stripping Washington of the football team for the best players. Well, then I told somebody, I said, well, is that what the other schools doing with Alabama? Ohio State got 3, Texas got 1. I mean, Florida State got 2 former Alabama football players. That's the name of the game. I said, after this 30-day period, if there's another school or 2 losing coaches go to NFL or go to other schools, well, enjoy your 30 days of hell because you're going to get rated.
Right. Yeah, no, it's going to happen to anybody at this point. I mean, unless they.
It's going to happen this week.
Yeah, go ahead.
It's going to happen this week because Jim Harbaugh, I believe, takes a job in the NFL this week.
Well, yeah. I heard rumors. I have a hard time believing it. I'm getting in trouble. I won't name everybody sound mean to people. Why would Brian at LSU want to go to Michigan? He was up there for all them years at Central Michigan at Notre Dame. He didn't get it done. And he got a better program, in my opinion, at LSU. Better.
Maybe you want to get into the Big Ten. Maybe, I don't know. I honestly, I feel that he probably would stay at LSU, and and Michigan might promote that offensive coordinator. Maybe Sherrone Moore, is that his name?
Yeah, that's what I think. I think Michigan will promote. I mean, that was my guess. I mean, somebody had it all figured out. Well, this one's gonna go this way. Mike Noel will go to LSU. I like that. If he did leave LSU, why would LSU go after Norvell? So now it's question mark about his recruiting in Tampa. You don't want that crap to follow you, to bring that on you new school. I mean, it just, I don't know. I guess maybe y'all have something.
Well, here's the thing. I mean, it seems logical based on what people see, being from or coaching up in that area. You mentioned Central Michigan. He would be like their number one guy. He had, moderate success since he's been at LSU. He played in the SEC championship. His first year beating Alabama on a fluke play at the end. This year, no defense. He fired the entire defensive staff, so that's been reorganized. And it sounds good. I don't know, you would leave a program like LSU for Michigan, but, that to me is I don't want to, well, do we call it a lateral move? But because Michigan just won the national championship, I don't know. But no doubt it will be a great move. But when you look at what's in place, and we've been talking about this as Alabama fans and covering Alabama, right? What would have been best for Alabama after Nick Saban retired was to be able to have somebody there in in the pocket, on staff, a Sharon Moore, if you will, to be able to step right into those Jim Harbaugh shoes. And now you don't lose, I don't think. You don't have what we've seen with Alabama. We don't see the great exodus happening. I think, they might lose some guys, but I think if you hire one of those coordinators defensively and or offensively, you're gonna save face with a lot of players because the familiarity is there. So I think you're gonna lose guys just by attrition, right, Tommy? Because it just guys gonna say, well, I want to try something else. We just won a national championship. Let me go try something different. That happens. I don't know to what degree, but if you hire a guy that's, let's say Sharon Moore, he's taking over your program. He's, Jim Harbaugh missed 6 games, by the way. He's coached the team. He's ran the team. They've been on a away trip, so he's done everything. So to me, if I'm the Michigan leadership group, that would be if Harbaugh says, hey, I'm going to work with Los Angeles Chargers or the Atlanta Falcons, he takes one of those jobs. Hey, I got a guy right here, and we won without him already. So to me, that would be the easiest move. And therefore, I think you hold on to your guys. And that's what I've been saying about Alabama. I know people dismiss it and people are like, well, we don't need them. And you hear all sorts of things. They weren't that good. You hear everything when guys decide to leave, or this guy was better. You wasn't saying that just about a month ago, right? But now people find themselves saying all this crazy stuff. But the reality is, you hire a guy that people not familiar with, people are prone to leave. That's going to happen. Now, are we surprised that he got some of the Washington commits? I'm not at all. I mean, I said a week or so ago, he's going to get some of those guys. He's going to get guys that like him, that he likes, that he's going to be able to talk to. He's going to be able to convince to come to down here in the Southeastern Conference and play in the SEC. And they're guys there. So I'm not surprised. The ones I'm looking for, if he gets the cornerback, that would be huge. And if he gets, the big one is the receiver, Williams, he got to show that he can get that guy. Because to me, that's program changing if DeBoer's able to get him.
Yeah, I mean, I knew there was going to be Washington. It just depends. Like I said, it's just going to take time. It's going to drag on for 2 weeks or longer till that day comes up. I'm still, but people got this thing planned out. I know people like Christian. I guess he was there when you was playing football. Bo Davis.
Yes.
I know he's good, but is he the only offensive line coach in America?
Defensive line. He was with the defensive line coaching.
Defensive line. I'm sorry.
He's not. No, you're fine. No, I know what you meant. No, he's not the only one. But I'll tell you one thing, Tommy. He's a damn good one. You talk about. This dude. He was responsible for the development of guys like Jaron Reed, Ashawn Robinson, Jonathan Allen. I think even Deron Payne, maybe 1 year, his freshman year. Bo Davis, man, he's a heck of a football coach. You talk about really getting his guys to play at the highest level possible, and he's like the head of like that dog, right? Like he brings the dog out of all those guys. Trust me. If you, I wish I could play one of his, I guess, pregame kind of motivational pep talks for his defensive line unit. There's no way I'd be able to play it on the radio, but I'm just telling you right now, I'd have you ready to run through a brick wall.
Well, I know you play for Blake. I know he's good. He was here before, and I know that he was blocked from coming back by the SEC. And I'm just like, well, if we just so fascinated with him and we can't make a good choice, I think another choice is we got to find us another strength coach that will motivate, like Scott Cochran. We haven't had that in 3 or 4 years. And the only other thing I'm going to say, I'm happy Ohio State got Bill O'Brien. They're going to find out how great he really is.
We'll see what he does, man. Hopefully, no, I'm not going to say that. No, look.
I will. He didn't do nothing his 2 years here, okay? Last year, he said, his stuff. And I'm being kind when I say stuff.
Yeah, I hate to say this, but even after watching that Lions game, you're like, man, you telling me you couldn't come up with more concepts for Jahmyr Gibbs when he was here? I hate to say that, man. I wish him well, just because I'm a good person, but man, golly, man, I feel like we had a lot of wasted potential. But that's not our problem anymore.
No, it's not. It's Ohio State.
Yeah, that's right.
Well, thanks, guys. Y'all have a great week.
Yes, sir. You too, Tommy. Appreciate you, Tommy from Romulus. Always checking in. Appreciate that. Let's take a quick timeout. We'll come back. Let's dive into these recruits from this weekend, because I think a lot of people are interested in hearing about that. So we'll do that on the other side of this. You're listening to the Miller's Edge right here on Tide 100.9, 1230 AM WTBC. We are presented by the Good Feet Store, America's art sport experts. We'll be right back after a quick timeout.
But I got hit by the mic. Not right now. All right, let's see what we got here. Wish we could get Bo Davis back as D-line coach. Man, I love Freddie, though. I'm not going to lie. I love Freddie. But if we could say we move Freddie to like linebackers coach and have Bo Davis as defensive line coach, boy, that'd be a hell of a combo. That'd be nasty. Our D-line hadn't been the same since Bo Davis. I will say, Reginald, I think some of that too, though, is, it's hard to fill the shoes of some of those players like I just named. You look at Quentin Williams, again, all-pro guy, right? Jonathan Allen, Deron Payne, Jaron Reed, all those guys are still playing at that level in the National Football League, years later. That's just a testament of just how talented those guys are. And I think that's part of it. I don't think it's strictly just coaching. I think a lot of it, too, is recruiting. We just haven't had the same level of talent on the defense line. We've definitely had some really good football players. Don't get me wrong. Byron Young, great football player. Phil Mathis, great football player. But when you're talking about elite, like Jonathan Allen, Quentin Williams, Deron Payne, these guys are elite, man. Does that make sense? And you have all those guys on one defensive line unit. Hell, Dalvin Tomlinson, the guy that was, I wouldn't call him a rotational guy. He definitely played a lot of snaps, but Dalvin was kind of behind a lot of people for a while. Look at Dalvin, that's how much talent we really had on our defensive line. Are there any coaches still there that were there when you were there? Honestly, no, other than, support staff like Jeff Allen, Ginger Gilmore, people like that. I don't think there's any more football coaches, no. Coach Gillespie, he was at Tennessee when I was getting recruited, so I know him. Freddie, I'm really cool with. He wasn't there when I was there, but I know Freddie really well. All right, here we go. We're back.
Corey Miller, Christian Miller, Noah Haynes here with you. The Miller's Edge, the Tide 100.9, 1230 AM WTBC. Let's get to some app messages. Again, you can download them for absolutely free. Tide 100.9. To that being said, let's go to the best reader in all of Alabama, Noah Haynes.
Hey. We got a couple app messages here. We got Chris in Mississippi out in Starkville. He says, I know that going pro is best financially, but don't you think that Dunlap could endorse or swing a certain brand of club and make some serious NIL money? Some kids really enjoy the college experience and aren't in a hurry to rush into the career world.
That's what I was kind of saying. With NIL, he definitely has opportunities, but to be fair, I do feel like that might be limited. Like my dad was saying, with golf, you're not going to have the same level of exposure as you would in, say, football. But nonetheless, definitely some really good opportunities, but I just don't think it'd be comparable. We're talking, the purse for the tournament he just won, the American Express, was like 1.5. So that's a lot of money.
But that's one of the smaller, winnings when you're talking about big tournaments. I know it's a lot of money to us, but when you talk about the PGA, it's not like one of their biggest payouts.
I didn't say that, and I actually was going to say that the Live, if you throw in Live Tour, like getting signed by Live Tour would be monumental type money. And I was just saying $1.5 million for one tournament is probably more than he would make in his 4 years here in college. That's what the point I was making.
He won't make nowhere near close to that.
My point. That's why I wasn't trying to compare it to other tournaments. I was saying $1.5 million for that one tournament alone would probably outdo any earnings he would make throughout college. So we're saying the same thing.
I mean, listen, I understand what Chris is saying here because, people want to enjoy college. Maybe he does. If that's the case, I don't blame him. I mean, then do what you do if that's what you want to do. But
you can golf for years, man. I mean, there really ain't.
but my point is, you can always go back to college.
It's not going to be the same when you go back.
I went back to college and I was in my late 40s.
That's not the same. You're not getting the college experience, though.
I could if I wanted it to.
That's you in college at 40 walking around campus is not the same.
But I look like I was like 21. I look like I was a transfer portal guy.
Well, it doesn't matter.
You sure about that?
Right.
Yeah, I'm 100% sure about that. And listen, I get it, right? But what's the goal? What's the goal? When you talk about these football players, we're going to get into it in just a moment. They pull out their hat or whatever they do, the weird things they do now. Well, how many years did they say they stay in school?
3 to 4.
Okay. Now, I know you graduated in 3 years. You're a very smart guy. You did that at Alabama. You got a master's in 4 years, 4.5, whatever it was. You did. You one of the very few. Okay. Most guys, they say that because they're trying to get to where the cheese is. Right? Yeah, I get it with college, but at the end of the day, Nick Dunlap is trying to be a pro. That's his goal. And if he can get to that now while he's doing his thing, because there's so many ebbs and flows with golf, why wouldn't you? I mean, that's just the thing. I know money isn't everything. But if that's your passion, that's your focus, that's your goal, to me, Chris, I think he should make that decision to do that. And if not, I'm fine with that too, because he's got to be happy with his own stuff. All right, let's go back and do another app message. Noah, take it away.
Yep, Clive in Colleyville. Switching back to a different conversation we were talking about last break about just the transition between coaches. He's agreeing with you guys. Said Saban should have had a guy waiting in the wings. He thinks that would have made it a lot easier.
Yeah, I mean, I think that would have been. I think that would have. When I say best case scenario, because I mean I don't mean it like this isn't a good scenario. I think this definitely could work out, but it definitely comes with a lot more. I wouldn't say obstacles, but yeah, it comes with a lot more obstacles. I mean, that's just the best way you can put it. It's definitely a really good hire, but it's going to come with a lot more obstacles because you do have to re-recruit the team. It is going to be more difficult to keep guys in the program versus if you did have a guy that you promoted from within. Not saying one's going to work out better than the other, but just I think it would have made this, not even I know for a fact it would have made the transition smoother because if I'm being honest with you, this transition hasn't been the smoothest. I know that, right? But nonetheless, I'm excited to see where things end up going. Because I think once they get over the hump, which is expected, I think we're going to see some really good things. Is it going to be different? Yeah, I think it's definitely going to be different. I mean, Coach DeBoer is a lot different than Coach Saban. I mean, I know that you hear some of the same things like the word process and whatnot, but in terms of their demeanors and the way they kind of run their programs, it's almost night and day. So I am really curious to see how it ends up playing out, but I am excited though. But I do agree. I think promoting from within probably would have made the transition a lot smoother. Did we? I think that was everything. Is that all the app messages, Noah?
Those are all for now. If we have more in,
I'm sorry. Okay, but my point was, Chris, we talked about that, right? And we were looking at who to hire, that type of thing. But the reality was they didn't have a guy. Right, Kevin Steele was the OG of the staff. He was stepping down, and he had no head coaching experience. They had nobody. So, when I said timing was, to me, again, I'm not questioning Nick Saban's timing, but just for the big picture. In a perfect world, you would say, hey, yes, could he got somebody, and groomed would be the word that I would use, groomed to be the guy, the coach in waiting. We saw with Mac Brown, and Will Muschamp at Texas. That's when the kind of whole coach in waiting, right? They wanted to keep Coach Boom and his defensive coordinating prowess and all of this good stuff. So they named him coach in waiting. Well, Nick never had a coach in waiting with the staff. I mean, a lot of people think that the staff is one of the worst staffs that he has had. It depends on whom you ask, right? He brought in Tommy Rees, who was at Notre Dame, has some experience, but trying to figure out, Milroe and Jalen Milroe and all that good stuff, but he ended up turning some things around, did a lot of good things last year. Started off, it was rough. It was a rough patch. You know, they had guys, you know, but they didn't have any guy that I think nobody, no Bama fans said, hire this guy off your staff. I mean, even though they've had guys like Ken Wisenhunt, right, who was an NFL coach, but he wasn't going to coach his team. I think he was a guy that you definitely, you know, you could utilize and keep on your staff. I don't know why that the board didn't reach out that way, but that's his own decision. But they had nobody to take the throne and say, hey, bam, this is we've been around, our face is familiar, we're in the community, you know, we can go to every restaurant, people know you. They didn't have that guy. I know you mentioned Pete Golden was supposedly maybe was going to be that guy, but then he had issues, and then, you know, he moves on with Lane Kiffin. Other than that, they had nobody. So that's why I thought Dan Lanning, you know, Sark, I did throw out the Lane Kiffin name, which was my guy, but they were kind of guys that would have been familiar with this program and know this area. So it is difficult. It is hard. It is going to be harder. And then nobody's not been negative in saying that he can't. We're saying it's going to be much harder for him to turn things around as quick, in my opinion. I just think for not being here, and you hire some guys that always help. You kept some guys on the staff that always help, you know. But you if you were just out there by yourself, I get it. But you're going up against dudes that's been doing this thing for a minute, right? That know all these coaches, know all these players. That's been recruiting these players since they were ninth grade. So you're kind of behind the eight ball. That's the reality of it. But can he do it? Absolutely. You know, but to me, I think it's going to take a little while. When we come back from the break, though, Christian, I want to talk about this because I know a lot of people are interested in the recruiting weekend. Ryan Williams was here. You know, they got a couple of commitments. They got a center, thank God, that can snap the ball. That's a plus. If he can just snap it, you win. So you got that guy committed, although he looks like a Sam linebacker. He need to put some weight, some pedals in his booty. But he's a second-team all-conference guy. Feel good about that. You got a receiver that's played some valuable minutes. That don't really float my boat because, man, you got those kind of guys on the roster already. So I'm not overly, you know, pumped about that. I mean, it's a good get, but it's not like, yeah, you know, I'm doing cartwheels. So we'll get your thoughts on that about recruiting weekend. Get Christian thoughts on that when we come back from this timeout. This is the Mills Edge. Winter Tide 100.9, 1230 a.m. WTBC. Back in a moment.
Yeah, so basically what he just was saying was exactly what I had been saying all last week. Now he's agreeing with me. Like, we just didn't have anybody really available. That's why I think they made the right move with the hire, given the circumstances. Ronnie says you're so negative. I wasn't being negative. I don't think he was being negative either. I think he just was saying, really just kind of echoing what I was saying. Yeah, I don't think he was being negative right there, honestly, Ronnie. I think he just was just kind of echoing that. Let's see what else we have. So far, we've lost less players than I would have expected. I thought we would lose 20, even if Saban stayed. I don't 20 players if Saban stayed. I don't know about that, man. Not you. He's just all the time negative. No, I think it just is how it sounds. I mean, you'll hear my my thoughts on it. Basically, what he's just saying is, I mean, I'll just be honest with you. It's a fact that the transition would be easier if you have somebody from within. I mean, I think everybody knows that, right? And then in terms of like the pickups, I'll give my thoughts on that too. I think the center is definitely a good player, but without a doubt, he's going to have to probably put on a little bit of weight. He played at he's listed at 275 and played fine last year, but I think he'd benefit from that because I'll be honest with you, I've never seen an SEC offensive lineman that weighed under 290. If I'm being transparent, and I could be wrong, but it's very rare. But can he do it? Absolutely. I mean, he did it last year at Washington, but I think he would benefit from putting on some weight. But he's a good little scrappy player, man. He's not the biggest guy, but he's scrappy. I'll talk about it in the next segment because I watched a lot of tape on him. Receiver solid for sure. He's a returner as well. But somebody said that's just his tone. Those of us that know Corey know his tone. Yeah, and it's just how his delivery might just come off that way. He's not being – look, the thing is, if I'm being honest with you, I mean, if you listen to what he says, he hadn't been wrong many times, right? He knows ball. He knows what he's talking about. It's just he's one of the types where he's just going to shoot you straight. But that's all that is. 290 and 315 for his size. I would say 295. I mean, 6'2", 315 might be a little too much. If you watch the scheme, they pull these guys a lot, so he's got to be able to move.
Report 9, Corey Miller, Christian Miller, Noah Haynes in the studio behind the glass. Don't forget to send those messages right to him on Tide 100.9. Let's get right to it here. We'll talk a lot of football now. We've got golf. We're going to talk some of course, playoffs here too next hour as well. Christian, big weekend. I know everybody that I've seen following X, we're looking and waiting to hear from Ryan Williams. You know, his pictures floating around of what they were doing, he and his family, taking the pictures and all that good stuff that they do now with recruiting. They did get the two guys from Washington, the center and the wide receiver committed. So they got two good commitments that people seem to be happy with, but not the one that's going to be the program changing yet. A guy in Ryan Williams who everybody wants to compare to Nick Saban getting the Julio Jones commitment. And from that one, things turned around. Is Ryan Williams that dude? Is he that guy? If they land him, does that change the whole trajectory for this program at Alabama and Kalen DeBoer going forward?
I mean, I think he could make a huge impact. I mean, from what I hear about him, I mean, this guy's a program-changing player. So I think it'd be huge, not only just for what he's going to do on the field, but also I think the message that it would send if he is able if DeBoer is able to land Ryan Williams. I think that sends a message that, hey, you know, he's coming in here hitting the ground running, and he's able to win some of the biggest recruits, if not the biggest recruits in the state. So I definitely believe that, you know, Ryan Williams would be a day one type of guy just by watching his tape. Now, I can't predict anything, but, you know, skill position is going to be a lot easier to come in and probably play quicker, too, if you think about it. So I think Ryan Williams definitely is a must get. Especially given that, you know, I feel like for some time we haven't had that true number one guy. I know Jermaine Burton kind of stepped up some, Bond stepped up, but I feel like we've been lacking guys like the, you know, Calvin Ridley's, the Devontae Smiths, you know what I'm saying? Like guys that you're just like, all right, man, I feel confident just, you know, this guy's got one-on-one coverage, you know what I'm saying? They're man coverage. I'm just going to throw it to him, right? Yeah, I feel like we could really benefit from a guy like that. And Ryan Williams, to me, is that type of guy. Now, I do also believe that, you know, we saw what happens when you can't protect the quarterback, right? We gave up arguably, you know, the most sacks in the country, you know, 40-something sacks last year. So they obviously need to, you know, improve the offensive line. You talked about them getting a center. I think that's a huge piece. You know, the snaps were a major issue last year with Seth McLaughlin. You know, he transferred to Ohio State. You know, wish him well, but I definitely think that I would call this an upgrade with Parker Brailsford, the center from Washington that just transferred over. A guy who's going to have like three more years of eligibility. He was the center on the Joe Moore Award-winning offensive line. That's good. But I actually went back and watched the tape on him just to kind of get a better idea. Because, again, I think what happens, you know, a lot of the time when people talk about people, they kind of just say what they've heard from somebody or they heard from somebody or what they read. So I went and watched him. And, look, I'll say this about him. You know, he is smaller. He's 6'2", 275. At least that's what he's listed at. I'm sure he's probably a little bit heavier than that. I saw somebody compare him to Jason Kelce. Jason Kelce's 295, so I don't know where you got that from. But 275 is definitely light, and he played fine at center at that weight, but I definitely think he'd benefit from putting some weight on, right? So I would say at 6'2", he looks like he's got good length, his arm length. So maybe like 295, I think that'd be perfect. If you watch this scheme, Washington pulls a lot, man. These guys are always on some type of movement. They pull centers, guards, tackles, and it's frequent. This isn't just like a couple times. So you got to be able to be agile and be able to move. This guy does that just as you'd expect him to, being his size. He's athletic. And to be a smaller guy, he's very scrappy, man. And with him being shorter, he's got, good pad level. I mean, he's got some nice pop to him. He's physical. So I like this kid. I think he's going to be a really good addition to this team. The receiver, Jeremy Bernard, I think he's going to be a good player as well. I think he's definitely going to be solid. He's a returner, so he can help you out in that aspect. So definitely two good gets for Coach DeBoer. Now, obviously, these are guys coming from Washington. They're not, like high school guys, but nonetheless, they're going to be guys that you can, put in, play right away. They know the system. They know the scheme. So I think they're going to be two nice pieces. And now I'm looking forward to kind of what we can do once the spring portal opens up, because there's definitely going to be some more positions to fill once that opens up. But, from what I'm hearing, guys are confident with the groups that they have. I think we get caught up talking so much about everybody that's left, but we got to remember, if you look at who they have back, defensively, they're in a good spot. You've got your two starting linebackers, right? Jahad Campbell, Deontay Lawson, both those guys are back. On the defensive line, you hadn't really lost many people at all. You still got Tim Smith, Tim Keenan, Jaheim Otis. All those guys are currently still there. Probably missing some. James Smith, young guy. Damon Payne. I think the whole defensive line besides Justin Aboigbe and maybe one other, really, they pretty much got everybody. Edge guy, obviously, you lose both your starting edges in Braswell and Dallas Turner. However, you got some solid young players that I think can step up. This system is a 4-2-5, but they utilize that jack position like we've seen Alabama use, which I played in our nickel package. They got LT Overton that they added from Texas A&M. He's going to be that big end opposite to they call their jack the Wolf, I believe, if I'm getting that right. And then with the thing I wouldn't say most concerned about, but defensively that I'm looking at, is the depth at the defensive back position, right? The starters I'm not too worried about. You got Malachi Moore, Devontae Smith, who missed majority last season with an injury. However, he was the starting safety, I believe, in training camp before he broke his foot or whatever the injury was, and then came back late in the season for a few games. And I can't remember what game it was. It was a smaller school, I believe, but he was really showing up, and he was playing some good football that game. And it looked like you couldn't tell he missed that much time. So I'm excited about him. The corners, you got the transfer from Southern Cal guy should be able to step in and play. Mbakwe, I think I'm pronouncing his name. You got some young guys, Hurley, Mincy. So there's some young guys in the secondary, but I'm more concerned about the depth. That's the biggest thing. And then offensively, you plug the center in with two of the best guards in the country. Tyler Booker and Jaden Roberts, right? Only concerns up there to me right now is the tackles. You're replacing right tackle, I'm drawing a blank, but you're replacing your right tackle and you're replacing your left tackle, Caden Proctor left. But you got a handful of young tackles on this roster, but you just got Miles McVay is somebody to look out for, maybe at the right tackle position. Then
J.C. Latham is who you're talking about.
That's right. Latham entered the draft, so you're replacing the right tackle. Then left tackle, you had Pritchett, who's got some experience. Yeah, Caden Proctor left, but you got Pritchett, who's got some experience. He could probably step up and play that. Tight ends are back, except for Nyblack, who, that's a big loss. But you got CJ Dupree back, Robbie Oots coming back, which I think those guys are great football players, tough football players. Receiver position, you got some guys with that have gotten some experience. I'm excited about Jalen Hale, seeing him step up, but you still got Kobe Prentice, Kendrick Law. I think he could have a much bigger role with this offense. And then running back, I feel good about those guys. So then obviously the quarterback room, you still got Jalen Milroe. So with that being said, I just went over the whole depth chart real quick.
Well, you did good. they got crazy depth. They got,
and that's
crazy
with all
dudes.
the losses. Yeah, so
right.
they're still in decent shape. Not even decent, they're in good shape. They're in good shape.
But here's what I want to talk about after the break, because I was just listening to you. I want to be quiet and let you go. But I'm gonna play devil's advocate, because this Washington team that I watched a lot and I liked, but when they played the likes of what we're going to see in the SEC week in and week out, they mimic a little bit the style of Michigan. right? We're going to see more of that style of team. And they didn't do so well. And I'm going to tell you why I have a little bit concerned. Again, it's not negative, just looking at the overall picture. I'm not going to be, positive Pete here all the time. But you got to look at the reality of it. They played a team in Michigan, and they lost 34-13. Now, it was closer for a little while, but, defensively was a problem. Not just Michigan. Defensively was question marks we had about his team the whole time. We can go back and look at some of the games. If you go back and look at this team defensively, they had to make some big plays in the end to win games. Like, they could easily, they could have been 3 or 4 losses there easily. But they, to their credit, made those big plays. So I'm a little bit concerned defensively what they're going to be. And hopefully they get to a place, Dylan Johnson, who I know very well, I talked about that. I don't worry about them running the football here because I think they got a better group of backs overall. Offensive line is still going to be a question, how they fill out. We'll see how that works out. But when you look at them playing Michigan, and where they're probably going to have to play every week in the SEC, I had some concerns, and I'll tell you what those are. Top of the hour break, more than those that's coming back right here to Tide. 12:30 a.m. WTBC, Tide 100.9 on the FM dial. Download that free app. Ask your questions there. We'll get them on the flip side of this top of the hour time out. Be back in a moment.
There will be a new center. Yeah, Mike, that's what I just got done talking about for the last 15 minutes. We got Overton from A&M on. He's got experience on the line. Yeah, Jeff, I just mentioned him. I probably was talking fast, so y'all probably didn't catch everything, but I mentioned everybody, every position. Our receivers haven't been very good at blocking the past couple of years. I think that's why we haven't ran as many wide receiver screens as we used to. Smith, Judy, Ruggs all used to block for each other. Yeah, you definitely got to have good blockers. Man, one of the best blocking receivers I've ever played with was Ardarius Stewart. If y'all remember, in 2015 when we were won the national championship. Man, he was a dog, man. Talk about a physical guy. You got to have guys like that, selfless guys that are willing to block and do the dirty work. That's how you win championships, man. Washington didn't have Bama-type players on that defense. Yeah, and so that's definitely something to consider, you got to consider that. But they didn't bring the defensive coordinator. They got Cam Womack, which I watched a lot of his stuff, and I've been, kind of speaking about it with people. And I will, if I'm being honest, I am a little curious how our defense is going to look, not just because just the losses, but scheme-wise, and I talked about this, Coach Womack's defenses are a little more, not a little more, but it's a lot, how do you explain this? It's more zone-based, right? And it's not as, which people are probably like, oh, that's probably better. Well, sometimes when you're too simple like that and you're just spot dropping like that, you can get picked apart. So I know people always would complain about our defense being complex and this and that, but I'm telling you, I played in it 5 years. It is a very difficult defense. But just like anything, when you have a lot of layers to something and a lot of detail, it covers a vast amount of things. You know what I mean? Like if you do it right, it can defend anything, and it's extremely flexible. The issue is you got to have guys that are able to play within that system. Lord, if we play zone 50% of the time, they don't get cooked. All right, see, so we got some. All right, thank you. I'm not saying that they'll only play zone like that, but the way they play zone, the way he likes to call it. If you go back and watch South Alabama, sometimes there's DBs that are turning and spot dropping, and it's like a run play. Now that could just be an undisciplined player, but I've seen it multiple times, and I've talked to people that are familiar with this defense, and they do say that, this is very, zone based. Coach Saban, we run a lot of, quarters, cover 7 pattern match principles. And I mean, if you even watch NFL, I mean, a lot of, even when you play zone, you do a lot of pattern matching. I just worry that sometimes like, even an example, like you guys complain about Pete Golding. One thing I didn't like was when we were playing Tennessee, we were doing like a very, soft zone based defense. And you saw how that went, right? I mean, and maybe he'll change it up a little bit when he comes here. He's gonna have some new guys, some better athletes. But I just know his defenses are more just true zone based, and that to me is a little bit of a cause of concern. But again, we'll see more once spring comes and once season goes. With the players leaving and not staying, how are you going to teach a complicated defensive scheme? Well, Richard, Coach Saban's gone, so you're not teaching that complicated scheme. But again, you have to teach it every year anyway. Every time, you get a new recruiting class every year, you got to teach it. I'm just a firm believer, and look, like I said, I was in this defense for years. If you want to learn it, you can learn it. It just means you're going to have to take the time and effort to actually learn it.
Hour number 2, hour 1, and it's in the books. Let's go. Let's turn it up now, because you get to hour number 2, you take the thing up just another level. Like the DJ in the club. We start you off a little slow on a Monday. We get you right, get you comfortable. Then I'm going to start hitting hard like bricks. 205-342-9904 is the number for the program. Don't forget to download that free app, Tide 100.9. Ask your question there. We got some questions already in the kitty, so to speak, that we'll get to here in just a moment. Again, go check out my good friends, Reagan, Randy, R&R Cigars, 2703 6th Street there in Tuscaloosa. If you're looking for a great place to relax and just to lounge around, either inside or outside, they got a great wraparound porch. It's called The Mansion. And by the way, the anniversary is coming up, and they do a beautiful job of entertaining you and just deals and things like that for the anniversary. Go to their website, www.rnrcigars.com. You can probably find out a lot more about it. Make sure you go, if you're in the area, check out the anniversary, check out the Humidor, the best in town. The bar, phenomenal, all types of bourbons and all types of drinks. The best bar there in Tuscaloosa. And they're just good people, great friends of the show, been around a long time, and they would love to hear from you. So check out the good friends at R&R Cigars, 2703 6th Street there in Tuscaloosa. Reagan and Randy will take excellent care of you. And listen, if you're out of town, a lot of you artists listen to us on our app, YouTube. You know what? You can buy online. So go to the website, rnrcigars.com. They're shipping to you. Use that code Miller's Edge, absolutely free. And you will be very thankful that you did it if you check them out online. All right, let's get right to it. Hour number 2, we're talking Alabama football. A solid recruiting weekend. No Williams, no commitment from him, that's what everybody wants. They got 2 guys from Washington. They got a center, which was a need position. There we go. Corey likes that because he wasn't just a quarterback that you didn't need. At least you got a position of need center. So there you go. There you go, Tia. Go, Tia. You like that? I'll give you, so that's positive right there. Again, people talking about his weight. Yeah, he is little. He needs some pellets in the booty. I said that now we're number 1. But I think he's a very good technician. If you look at the tape, the guy plays with great leverage, which in football, you have to be able to play with great leverage. He does just that. Good feet, slides his feet very nicely, able to his hips, all that stuff is really good. And that's one of the reasons that he's light. Now, in saying that, many of you blasted Alabama last year about they were too big. They couldn't move. You're right. They couldn't move. They couldn't block in space. They couldn't block speed. And so they need to be more athletic, more agile at the offensive line for Alabama's defense. So they get a receiver. Again, I'm not running to call home to mama about a nice guy, but they got plenty of guys like that. That to me is sorry, it's just not maybe if you want to say filling a position or just somebody that's knows the offense. That definitely helps out. I get all that, but he's not a player that you get from being an Alabama fan crazy about, which people are, and sending out all they. It's funny to me. They go find every bit of kind of tape and put a video up to support what they're doing, but they won't go look at the whole thing. Because I can go show you some other stuff that don't look so good. It's kind of like, hey, let me put my huddle highlights in. What are you going to see from recruits? You're going to see all the good plays. You ain't going to see some stuff that they struggle with. You're just going to see, look at who we're getting. But did you see him get blasted on that last play? Did you see the guy run by him? So I caution you just from highlights. And, like the center, they put out one play that just blew up on Twitter. And this is who we're getting. But, go watch the game against Michigan, and you might see a little bit different.
Well, that's what I was saying. I went and watched the tape because I don't just go off highlights. But for everything I saw, I mean, again, the kid was a freshman All-American at center, and it to me, it proved true. Yeah, he's a good player, very snappy. Like you said, great leverage. He moves his feet well, just needs to put on a little weight. But other than that, he's a very good football player. Only thing I will say was in pass pro, I know there's a stat that he only gave up 1 sack, but I do urge people to remember, as a center, you got help from both guards, right, or one or the other, if not both. So that goes into it. Centers don't give up as many sacks as other positions. But I will say the only thing I would say he might improve on in pass pro is sometimes he gets caught kind of with his head down. He's sometimes a little he tries to be so physical that he can kind of get caught, with that snatch pull move because he's kind of got his head down. But other than that, man, I really saw a pickup. The receiver though, he is a returner as well. You lose Kool-Aid, who was your returner last year. I mean,
and Downs, who was your backup guy.
And Downs. So you lost 2 returners. So that is a big pickup. But through the air, he 419 receiving yards, 2 touchdowns. So not lighting up the stat sheet, but he's definitely a guy with experience. I think he played at Michigan State before, but with all-purpose yards, he's responsible for 738 yards. So I mean, definitely a great pickup, though. I mean, it's a guy that you can
I ain't gonna say great. I mean, I think we tossed that
I'm not
word
saying
too loosely.
I get what you're. When I say great pickup, meaning like you lost some guys in the receiving room, so he's gonna be a great player, whether it's depth or he's starting, whatever. He serves 2 roles, a receiver and a returner. That's why I called it.
He ain't gonna start. Is he better than what they got there right now?
It depends. I mean, you got Kobe Prentice,
so.
you got Jalen Hale's a young
type of guy.
I would say probably maybe 3rd, but I would say, Jalen Hale's a guy I'm excited about, a young player that I think could really make strides this season. So, but look, nonetheless, I think he's going to,
I mean, that's not a bad pick. I'm just saying that nothing I would call home about. That's all I'm saying. But let's just talk about this because I want to keep there because we're getting some message. I know the GOAT always hit me up. She says this via X. You're going to follow me on the X machine at Pastor Payne 57. If you want to do that. She says, playing devil's advocate to your devil advocacy. I believe if Washington had better players, they win that game against Michigan. Yes, of course. Our defense was good last year, but let's not act like Alabama defense hasn't been down already over the years, which is I've been saying that all along. They weren't dominant. They were decent. I thought the defensive line play was down. Been down for the last few years. I thought 2 years ago, though, that defense was definitely at players. I mean, you go look at guys playing in the pros from that secondary. Jordan Battle has one of the highest rated secondary rookie guys in the league. Look what Branch has done for Detroit. Look, I mean, so this team, look at what Will Anderson did as a freshman coming off the edge. I mean, I can continue to go on the players that are playing in the lead off that defense 2 years ago. So they had guys. Again, we talk about the amount of mistakes, and I don't think we're going to see those because we got a new guy, different defense, and I think that's one good thing. If you're looking for a positive, GOAT and others, here you go. I think the defense will be simplified, and I think you will see these athletes that they bring in, that they have on the roster that end up staying, will be able to showcase their abilities a lot better. Again, I love Coach Nick Saban. I can't downplay what he's accomplished, what he taught. Christian, you played in that defense 5 years. But if I have a negative about that, would be his defenses, especially as of the last 3 years, have been too hard for these new age guys. And the tackling was down. I thought their ability to execute this defense was down. And to me, and I kept saying, it's too much. And these new guys, where they are blitzing and they're playing, one gap schemes and things like that, on the attack, trying to impose their will on the other team's offense. That's what they do these days, right? Or they play zone, which is just very simple zone. So,
But
the
I
match zone.
disagree, though.
But it's very obvious. You can disagree, but tell me the last 2 or 3 years, if we chart how many breakdowns, how many mistakes that was made in that secondary by Nick Saban's defense that cost them games, that cost them ability to play in the college football playoffs, we can go back and chart those.
So you're saying it was only because but let me give you an example.
Because it's too hard. I've been saying that the whole time. I know it's easy for you.
It's not. I never said it was easy for me, but what I was just telling our chat during the break was that if you want to learn it, you gotta put the time and effort in, right? And the thing what I really like about the defense is there's so many nuances and complexities to it. Yeah, it's difficult to learn, but if you talk about defending different things, I mean, there's something in each call or some type of adjustment to defend, virtually anything and everything. I get that it is difficult for people to learn, but my thing is this, though. I mean, the stuff that y'all are saying was so difficult and led to a bust. That's not even the case. Like, all right, I'll give you an example, like Caleb Downs, right? On that 4th and 2, on that bust. I mean, it's a push alert. I mean, he's got to push, right? I mean, to me, that's not super difficult. You see that you got that back strong. You got 4 strong load. Like, you don't have to have somebody necessarily tell you that. I mean, if your eyes are right, you see that the back, they flip the back, they make 4 strong load that makes push alert. You got to push, right? Like that's not something being too difficult. Anybody with eyes can see that there's now 4 guys to a side with the back. That's not too difficult. That's why I think people just follow this narrative like, oh, it's too like.
Yeah, but what about the 5
I
to 6 to
disagree.
8, 10 times? What about the Texas game? All those busts.
There were a lot of issues there, but again, I mean, the way you got to give credit to Sark, but I'm telling you right now, though, like, I could you have simplified some things? Sure. I mean, I'll agree with you there, but what I will say is I don't think straight, like base zone defense is the answer. Nobody really run. I mean, they don't even really do that in the NFL like that. Like everybody does some type of pattern match. You have to. And I'm not saying they won't do any of it, but if you watch Coach Womack's defense from the past, they are more, zone based where it's like spot drops. Again, I said it earlier. I've seen guys kind of just turn and drop in their zone. I don't really see that as much. Hardly really in college football. It's hard to do that, especially with a lot of these new schemes. Now, I'm not saying it's not going to work. I'm sure they'll be just fine. But that's something that I'm going to be looking for because, again, in Coach Saban's system is a lot different than what I've seen from this. So all I'm saying is with it being so different, that's something I'm going to be looking for because as a defensive guy, this is a totally different defense. This is not even remotely close to what we've been running under Coach Saban. So that's just something I'm curious to see how it plays out.
Yeah, it's going to be very interesting. The defense that they've hired, Coach Womack, we heard a lot from their play-by-play / color guy. We heard from your teammate, Alphonse, who talked about Womack, so we gave some really good information on him. But
what are you eating?
Again,
it sounds good. You sound like you've been eating for the past 40 minutes.
I ate one peanut.
For 40 minutes?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Man.
I mean, I got some cereal that I'm about ready to, give me a bowl of this granola and yogurt cereal. So good. Anyway, but here's a question I want to ask because I know as a fan, Christian, and I want to make this simple. We got a lot of app messages to get to on Tide 100.9. That being a fan, like for you, for Chris Stewart, for Eli Gold, for Tyler Hoover, I get it. You work for the university. And you got to be positive. But if you're not,
I don't have to do. They don't tell me to do anything. I can say whatever
but
I want.
But you are out. I mean, you're going to err on the side of positivity. Other media people should err on the side of looking at the entire picture and give people the good and the bad. There's potential good. There's potential bad.
I just gave you potential. I wouldn't call it potential bad.
I'm drawing a point.
Right.
Like folks want to understand. Like, so what I do. I look at both sides, right? I want Alabama to be successful. I want Kalen DeBoer and Womack to come in here and Grubb, whatever his name is, to come in here and do great things. And I'd like to see him go 12-0. But I understand it's going to be different. I understand it's not going to be easy. I understand that as fans want to put it like it's just plug and play. Nah, it ain't going to be that. And recruiting is not going to be that. I don't think we're going to see a number 2 recruiting for a while in Alabama. I don't think we're going to see a top 5 for a while in Alabama, unless Alabama steps up and you start to buy those rankings based on what we're seeing in the transfer portal from Ohio State and in high school. They spent 13 to report, like Kiffin, they spent $13 million just on football in the transfer portal. 13 million. Now, I don't know how true that is. That seems extremely high, but we know money is a huge part of it now, right? Could that make that easier for Coach DeBoer's transition? Yes, it could. Will Alabama step up and spend that kind of money to stay on top? I'm not so sure. I listen to a lot of fans who said they're not going to give any money. On this station that has called in and said, nah, I ain't doing it. Why are we responsible for paying these players? Because I'm telling you right now, if Alabama's going to get back at the top, they got some dudes, but look at what Texas is doing. Look at what all these other teams are doing. Alabama is behind, way behind. The question I have for you, will they step up? Will you as a fan step up and give the kind of money that it's going to take to keep Alabama near the top? That's the biggest question. Any coach would tell you, you win with players. You win with Jimmys and Joes, not the X's and O's. And we've seen that just in the championship game. We know the X and O guy that Coach DeBoer is. He didn't have the Jimmys and Joes when it came down to it to win that game. They got beat by 3 touchdowns in the championship game. If it hadn't been anybody else, we as Bama fans would have been laughing, ridiculed, key. But we got the coach now, but we don't want to look at it. So let's look at the entire picture of this thing when we come back. Quick timeout. I see your app messages. We'll take a call, 205-342-9904. Will you as a fan step up? Will you get that subscription to Alabama? Will you donate 100,000, 10,000, 100,000, whatever it is to stay at the top? Because that's what it's going to take the way this thing is going right now. This is Milroe on Tide 100.9. We'll be back in a moment.
She's running around. Her breath doesn't.
All right, hold on. I'll be right back, guys. I'm going to get some of these questions. Give me just 2 minutes. All right, let's see what we got. Sorry. Winning is ultimate recruiter. The money is icing on the cake. I don't see going TC for him, but hey, you'd be shocked, man. Trust me, you'd be surprised. winning does help, but when you got a program like Ohio State, who's a title contender and paying a lot of money, you're going to get guys, as you guys have seen. I'm hearing that NCAA is going to pass a rule that allows universities to pay players. The truth to that, have you guys heard anything in that regard? I'm not too sure. I'll be honest. I don't know. They need to fix something. I mean, really, this is just pay for play, right? I mean, even in recruiting, I mean, guys are pretty much just going to schools and saying, oh, okay, I got this offer here. How much are you going to pay me? Right? I mean, it's crazy, right? I mean, I don't even recognize college football sometimes. Like, if y'all only knew the stuff that I hear about what goes on, if y'all only knew half the stuff that goes on, right, like with recruiting guys in terms of NIL and money, like this crap isn't NIL. This is not name, image, and likeness. Paying somebody to come to school is not name, image, or likeness.
Dial 123 in Tuscaloosa, 223 here in Columbia, South Carolina. Ask the question, are you willing to step up your game? You know, are you willing to step up your game, your wallet game, your checking account game, your trust fund game, your life insurance game? People give many ways, promise to pay game through life insurance policies to go to the university, because that's what we're seeing. We saw a report that Ohio State, by the way, just got a couple of Bama players. Just want to talk about, they got Caleb Downs, the Ohio State. Then they just got Julian Sang, who was the number 1 quarterback in this class, number 3 overall prospect. It's going to take that, Christian, to continue to sustain the level of excellence that Nick Saban has always been talking about. You know, and I get what the players are saying, like Tyler Booker, who's on a radio show. And let's do this real quick. Let's do this, Noah. Let's play what Tyler Booker had to say about the situation on a particular radio show.
For the fan that's still struggling with this, tell them how they should feel about so many people leaving and how you guys who are still there are handling this on a day in and day out basis.
It's really a next man up mentality. You know what I mean? You come to Alabama to really get developed and really take advantage of the opportunity that's being presented to you. So there's a lot of opportunity on the table right now, and we have guys capable of stepping up and stepping into those spots and taking advantage of their opportunity. So that's one. We have the talent in-house, but obviously the portal works both ways. Once it opens up in the spring, we'll be able to add more additions if need be. But I feel like we have everything in-house that we need in order to go on another national championship run. So everything's going to work out, and to stay excited for the season, because we definitely are.
That's starting right guard Tyler Booker, of Alabama on the next round. Christian, do you agree with what he's saying?
Yeah, I mean, I think that makes sense. I mean, look, that's what I was saying. A lot of people are confident with the guys that they have, and I do feel, you know, when you first glance at all the names hitting the portal, it does look concerning, and it is concerning. But when you really look at the depth chart, I mean, realistically, I think it's depth that's going to be hurt the most. I mean, you lose some key pieces. Caleb Downs, I mean, there's no way to put it. I mean, that's a huge blow, right? But you lose Caleb Downs and a couple other pieces, but the rest of those guys, I mean, really good football players. But I definitely feel like, you know, you can keep recruiting and get guys to fill those voids. So I think they do have what it takes to be a solid football team. However, it's not going to be easy, right? I mean, talking about the adjustment of a new staff, a whole new, I'm not going to say whole new program, but it's going to be a lot different. And then you lose a lot of guys. But I like guys like Tyler Booker who have such pride in playing here, guys that know that they want to cement themselves in the legacy here. I have a great amount of respect for Tyler Booker and other players. I mean, Jaden Roberts, I've heard him come out and say very similar things. Those are the type of guys that you want to play for, right? Those are the guys I want to play beside. And so I'm confident that, you know, that type of leadership can help, bring this team along. We've heard Coach DeBoer talk about, and his players talk about how strong of a brotherhood that he emphasizes, and that they've that's one of their things that they pride themselves on. So I'm excited to see what they can do. But yeah, I agree with him. Yeah, and what he had to say.
Yeah, I mean, and it's good to have those guys. I mean, listen, it's attrition. It's a big deal. I mean, these guys are playing for the best to ever do it. And that's why I get so mad at people that blast the kid, oh, I ain't following them. All these negative things that they say about, they don't want to call me negative. They've been negative. These 18 to 22-year-olds, they all not going to do the same thing. You're going to have guys like Tyler Book, who nobody's mad at him. I applaud him for standing up and saying, hey, I want to stay here. I'm going to ride it out. I'm going to do me, right?
Yeah.
And I'm going to ride with whoever's here. That's a great thing. It's also a great thing if they decide to leave. Like, people now want to downplay, which is shocking to me. Julian Singh, right? This is the same guy that they all was touting. All college football said, wait till the Savior gets. He was the chosen one. He was the anointed one that was coming to Alabama to take and kick Milroe out the door and take you to the promised land, right? It wasn't the kid Austin Mack. You could give two crip butts about Austin Mack, right? That's what bothers me. But now all of a sudden people, but just weeks ago, months ago, weren't y'all the same ones that were just saying that this dude's going to beat out Jalen Milroe because he can read defenses? And so many people now, even still with Austin Mack and talking about competition and talking about Jalen may not even have his job. A lot of you still saying this again. And the one thing that you question, what do you question about Jalen Milroe? Not his speed, not his athleticism, not his ability to throw the ball deep. But what do you question? He needs to get better to neck up. This is what I hear.
But
his acumen.
You agree the same thing though. He needs to work on processing things quicker. He needs to work on seeing the field better. That is from the neck up.
But
you've said that same thing. So I mean, you can't get mad when other people say it when you believe the same thing.
Well, I never say neck up. You never heard me say one
you
time.
Might not.
Jalen Milroe needs to get
I didn't word it like that
up.
either. But I agree that he does need to improve his processing speed, and he does need to improve his field of vision. Right, knowing where to go with the football. Right, like that. Like, I think that's obvious. I mean, I don't think that's a slap in the face. That's just where he needs to improve his game. I mean, obviously, I believe in his arm talent. I think he could, at times, there's sometimes he didn't have the best throws, but that's everybody. I think the biggest thing was, like I gave the example of the Michigan game on that 3rd and 9. You see that the box is loaded. They're showing cover 0 blitz, right? You got to know where to go with that football quick. Yeah, they could bail out, but you always respect that. If they're showing it, you got to respect it. You got to know where to go. You had Amari Niblack wide open. You could have dished that off real quick. Not saying it's easy, but the O-line actually did a pretty good job picking it up for an all-out blitz.
47 sacks.
You got 100%, and some of those are on him for holding the football too long. That's not from the
many
neck
of
up
those.
necessarily.
I don't think you're talking about that Rose Bowl. Was he holding the football too long?
There was times, yes.
He never had a chance in that first quarter.
I said there was times. No. Most of that was on the offensive line. I agree. The offensive line.
So I'm just saying, like, when we can say all this stuff, but you don't hear me question the man's ability to learn, ability to go. I'm saying people that question his ability to learn.
Right or wrong. Right. Let me ask you something though.
When you question one's ability to learn, you question that the man he's not smart enough to learn. That's my whole point. Do I think he needs to be able to process faster? Absolutely. Get the ball in hands? Absolutely. Do I think he's smart enough? Absolutely.
But who said he wasn't smart enough? They just
people, and they make that speculation when they say neck up. When you talk about somebody's mental capacity and ability to learn,
I think you're taking it.
I don't take anything. I take what they say. I take what they say, and this is my opinion, which I can have it. My opinion is that don't question this man's smartness. I mean, when you tell me everybody else can do it,
his intelligence,
same thing. But you tell me everybody else can do it that haven't done it, but you question his. So what does that say?
Again,
just ask some question.
What do you
but
mean?
They tell me Ty Simpson can do it. They tell me Austin Mack can do it. They tell me all these other people that Dylan Lonergan can do it. but then they have a question when it comes to Jalen Milroe.
I think there probably are a few bad apples that might maliciously question his intelligence. However, I don't think that's the large majority, in my opinion, because I myself and I respect the hell out of him. I love him. I'm friends with the guy. I mean, I like Jalen, but as a football player, I will be the first one to tell you, if he come to me and asked me, hey, how can I improve my game? That'd be what I would tell him. I would say that decision making, processing things quicker, seeing the field a little bit better, right? Knowing where to go with the football, being able to go from read to read quicker, like that his timing, right? Like that's fair. That's just critiquing his game. Just like somebody critique my game. I mean, you could say I needed to improve my counter move. Coach Saban's telling me that all the time. I need to go to power more, right? Like it's constructive criticism. I'm not, at least I hope I'm not offending somebody's intelligence, but just as a quarterback, that's a key part of the position. And I've seen times where that has come to affect him negatively in some situations just by not doing it, at least in that scenario. Now, can he improve that? Absolutely. I'm not saying it's, he can't. I'm not saying it's, like people are making fun of CJ Stroud because of his Wonderlic score. I mean, because we just saw how phenomenal CJ Stroud was.
They just saying he couldn't learn. That's what they were saying about him.
And they were proved wrong. So, and that's what I'm saying. So people are going to be wrong. I'm just saying, as a football player, when I watch it, if I had to come up with a critique, I would say the same stuff. I might not be wording it how people are wording it, but I mean, it is what it is. I don't know. I think that's a fair assessment. If you watch him, I think that is something he could improve on. It's just reading defenses, going through his progressions quicker, getting it out quicker. Yeah.
And I've been saying that for all year long, not until some other kid got there. I've been saying that. That's all I'm saying. But I don't say that he don't have the ability to learn because, it's just been on the offense too. A lot of different variables. So we got a lot to get into here. We ain't got much time left. Second break here, the hour. Come back, we'll continue this conversation. Plus your app message. We've got a ton over there as well that we'll get to after this break. This is the Mills Edge. We're on the Tide 100.9. Yes, we are the home of Alabama Crimson Tide Sports, whether you believe it or not. Back in a moment.
From our home base in Birmingham, Alabama, we are here treating patients from every generation.
Yeah, what are your guys' thoughts on that? I know why my dad takes that personal. I get the history of it. I trust me, I promise I do. I just know, again, I might make a comment like that, like he needs to improve his processing speed, going through his progressions quicker, knowing where to go with the football. And I obviously have no malicious intent. That's just me giving just like he likes to keep it real. That's me keeping it real. And again, I love Jalen Milroe. I love him as a quarterback. I think he's great. I think that's just where he could step up his game. That would take his game to a whole nother level, man. I know everybody talked about, short intermediate throws. The guy can make those throws. Now, obviously, sometimes I think he's so strong, he's putting so much on it that it kind of knocks his accuracy off occasionally. That's not a big deal to me. That's easy to clean up. I mean, you stop putting so much on and just kind of put some more touch on. That's easy. We've seen him throw the ball. Great. A really nice touch. The biggest thing, though, is just being able to say, hey, these are my progressions. These are my reads. I need to go, boom, this in here, boom. Turn my eyes. No, my check down's here, boom. Check it down, right? Take what the defense gives you. Don't hold the ball too long. I mean, again, I'm not. I mean, I'm sure there probably are some people that might say things negatively, but I think for the most part, I mean, the thing is it's a fair critique. People do think that Milroe is not smart. However, guy is very, very intelligent. Yeah, well, I'm not one of those people. I mean, I know him personally, man. I like the kid a lot. I think he's smart. He's a great leader, hard worker. That's what I'm saying. I think the issue, I think what my dad's referring to is people relating reading defenses, going through progressions quicker is, he's like that's conducive to, not being smart. Saying he can't versus he hasn't is two different things. Corey's complaints when people insinuate he doesn't have the mental capacity to process. Yeah, no, I mean, that's fair. Like I said, I hope that's not sounding like I'm doing that. I'm not doing that at all. I didn't say he can do that. I said he needs to improve on that. Thanks, no. there's a difference between being smart versus football IQ. Yeah, I mean, and that's something you can always improve. Your knowledge of the game, X's and O's. I don't even think it's so much that necessarily. I think it's more so just trying to, it comes with time and experience. He's young.
To the middle dead on the Tide 100.9. No, let's go get some of these app messages on Tide 100.9. I know a lot of people are commenting on that. We'd love for you to continue to send those in that way. Go ahead and send it in. You hit me on the X, but let's get you on that Tide 100 as well. Noah, floor is yours.
Yep. We got several people messaging in. I know earlier we were talking about Nick Saban and why did he just retire, not have anyone waiting in the wings? And we had a couple people, I know Chris and Willie from Western Slope were just both mentioning the fact that they he tried to get Ryan Grubb, but could not get him. And so maybe if that had worked out, then we would have been able to be set up a little better. But he was trying to do something maybe.
Yeah, I mean,
but you feel like Ryan Grubb is head coaching quality?
No. No. I mean, we definitely try to get Ryan Grubb, so that's a good thing we got him now for sure. No, I mean, again, I said all last week, guys. I think my dad made it seem like I wasn't saying. I said this all last week. We didn't have anybody to promote from within. I just said that if you wanted to limit the bleeding and have as smooth of a transition as possible, that probably would have been the way to go. I've seen people say, oh, well, that never works out. Again, not everything is 100%, right? I just think in terms of this situation, just like we saw with Coach K, I mean, it would make the most sense with a program like Alabama. However, that wasn't a possibility. Like, right, that opportunity wasn't even there. So I'm not saying go back and do that. That was just, if you wanted the smoothest transition possible, I think that would have made sense. But nonetheless, I think Coach DeBoer, out of all the names out there that you had, I think that it makes a lot of sense. I'm excited for what he's got to bring. Like I said, though, I think if we can just get this defense, I'm not so much worried about the offense. My eyes are going to be on this defense and how that's going to look, right? I really am curious to see how this defense is going to look because, again, this is a whole new defense. You hire Kane Womack from South Alabama, good coach, probably going to be a good recruiter, but I just want to see what he can do on this level with his defense because it's so much different than what I'm used to after going back and looking at it and seeing kind of the way he calls his defense. So that's all I'm saying. That's something I'm going to be looking out for.
And Coach West has sent an app message too on that. He said to go off what Christian was saying, Bama hasn't had any knuckle daggers on the D line in a while. I mean, just mean and nasty.
Oh yeah. I mean, but
well, you got to have those. You
got to. I mean, that's an integral part of any defense. But like I said, those guys I named, man, I mean, it's just hard to replace those kind of guys if we're being honest. But we'll see. I mean, we might end up having a few of those guys at some point. I mean, maybe that's what we need to get back to. We really want to get back to that dominant standard of defense.
Well, things changed for Bama, and Tim was saying the same thing too. I mean, somebody else was mentioning, the attitude, the aggression, the imposing their will, playing on the opposite side of the offense, making things happen in the backfield. I mean, you go back and watch 2015 and some of these other teams, how they played, man. It was, I mean, look how the secondary, Marlon Humphrey, those guys came up. Even if they was playing soft zone, two-shell coverage, they'd come up, and when they had to tackle and be the force guy, they got people on the ground. And they did it with force. They did it with flair. They haven't had that. I mean, and a lot of it is because the game has changed. I mean, college football has changed. There's no doubt about it. It's not the same anymore. And I don't know if we're going to see that anymore. I don't. I don't think kids are the same. I think the money with transfer portal and everything else has just changed this whole game. When we think about Ohio State spending that kind of money, God knows what Caleb got or what Julius Saying got and all these other guys that got a kid running back from Ole Miss to, I mean, what does that say in the Ryan Day? I mean, they're giving him an open wallet, basically, an open checkbook to say, go get your guy because, we lost to Michigan the last 3 years and they just won a national championship. We can't have that. So we're going to, people out there spending the money. Look what the guy from Arizona, the big booster, went after Jed Fish, right, for leaving Arizona. And just publicly just blasted him and said, you're not going to steal our players. you're not going to steal our players because I'm going to step up and make sure that. I mean, he said, I'll pay these guys to stay here at Arizona. I mean, we're seeing all this stuff now happening in college football. That's what I'm saying. It's a total different animal. And so I'm somewhat concerned with Alabama because I know the collective space. I know where they really are, despite people saying, this is the blue blood and but people are saying, fan bases are basically saying, hey, and I know they grew since the retirement of Nick Saban, but are they going to step up and pay the money? Because we can get online and you can get your followers, you can get your clicks, you can do the live shows, that's good and talk. But reality is a lot of these dudes is coming down to the money. Are we going to be able to be in that game now? Because the reality is as we can argue, 18 national championships, all the SEC championships, yes, true, 100. But do these kids really care about that anymore? They don't. I say no. There's some kids that will, but I think the majority will say, I'm about who can help me grow my brand, who can help develop me and put me in a system to flourish and play on Sundays. And by the way, how much can I get right now to take care of me and mom and them until I get that chance? That's what the game of college football, and it's sad, but that's what the game of college football is all about. Real quick, some news. We talked about Mr. Dunlap here, Nick Dunlap, who just won the tournament. He says, this from the PGA Tour Twitter handle, that after life-changing last 24 hours, I decided to withdraw from the Farmers Insurance Open. I plan to return home to Alabama to be with family, friends, and teammates. Thank you to Farmers Insurance and American Express for giving me these opportunities. That's his statement from withdrawing from. He just withdrew his name. Supposed to play this weekend, the Farmers Insurance Open. Nick Dunlap, who just won the American Express, will not be participating. So I just want to throw that out there real quick. 205-342-9904 if you want to call in. I think we got some lines open if you want to do that. But Christian, will Bama fans, will they step up? Will they pay money? And be in the running? Because I think things are changed and have changed, will continue to change until something is done. Recruiting is not going to be the same. It's just strictly pay for play right now. It's not an amateur sport anymore. It is a pro sport. So the question is, and I'm saying that with Ryan Williams because money is going to be the factor with Ryan Williams. So will a booster step up and say, we'll give Ryan Williams whatever it takes to get him here? So that we can, is that going to happen, or are they going to say, hey, we got 18 national championships. We are Alabama, and we want folks that want to be here, not how much it's going to take to get you here.
I don't know. I mean, I don't know any of these boosters like that, I guess. I mean, honestly, it's just kind of annoying even hearing that. It's as great as these players are, and I know you got to pay to get these guys. It gets old after a while, right? I mean, at this point, if that's what we're going to do, I wouldn't even host kids and show them all around and do all this stuff. Because if that's not what they're worried about, we're wasting our time. I'd get them in on a visit, and I would just sit them down and say, all right, what's your offer, or what's your price, right? What's the price? What is it going to cost us? And if it's not in our range, I'm just going to tell them, all right, thank you very much. I'm going to take them back to get them on a shuttle to Birmingham airport, right? I mean, because at this point, why are we showing tours of the school? Why are we showing them the state? They don't care about that. I mean, if you guys have heard some of these stories that I've heard, the way recruiting is going right now, I mean, the demands, it's outrageous. And it's not even always the kids, man. I hate to say it. Most of the time, it's the parents. It's the parents. The parents are demanding things, and it's just, I don't know. But to answer your question, I mean, if you truly believe that this guy is a program changer, I mean, at this point, you ain't really got a choice because we already know. I mean, it's Auburn's, obviously in the running. They're probably going to, open up the checkbook. If you feel like this guy is a program changer, which a lot of people feel that way, you're going to have to pay him. But I'll tell you one thing that really bothered me, and I was talking about this, and just think about how the guys that have been putting in work that are seniors, a guy like Tyler Booker, Malachi Moore, think about how those guys feel knowing they're making probably 4 times, 5 times less than a guy that just got on the campus from high school that's never played a snap, never done anything. Think about how those guys feel. I'm going to tell you right now, if I was a senior and I was only making $80K in NIL a year, and I'm talking about I've played meaningful snaps, I've contributed to championships here, and they go and pay a kid that hasn't played a single snap, and he's pulling up, and I'm just going to tell you right now, that would bother me. That would bother me a lot. I wouldn't. I don't know.
Somebody better get ready to, because Ryan Williams get ready to get everything he wants.
Right.
So the question is, will it be Alabama? Will it be Auburn? Or somebody else? One of them teams, if he is a game changer and they think he's Julio Jones, the next Julio Jones, guess what? Somebody is going to open up the checking account.
Oh, for sure.
And so that's why I say, all the stuff on X and all the pictures of him and his family, and he can take a picture with that the other day. That's all good. But when it comes down to it, show me the money. Back in a moment.
Ty says, I don't think any one player is worth a blank check. I'm not gonna lie, I'm with you on that. People might think I'm salty. I promise I'm not. It's just like I just gave that example, man. I mean, you got guys that have been in the program years, man, that have contributed heavily. And I'm not talking about just Ryan Williams in this situation, but you're telling me you're just gonna pay a kid or some guy some. I mean, I just don't think that's right, man. I think the guys that have contributed, they should be the top earners. Those guys should be earning the most, right? I would, if I'm supporting the Alabama, I'd want my money going to a guy like Tyler Booker, Malachi Moore, one of these guys that have been in the program. They're prideful about this program. I want to reward those guys. That's just me, though. Bama's not getting in a bidding war. Not to say they won't try to generate the best NIL they can. They just aren't going to be in a bidding war. Yeah, Jeremy, I mean, knowing, at least in the past, they definitely weren't. But we were able to get away with not paying as much because we had Coach Saban. We had the championship rings, right? We had the stats that, hey, every recruiting class has played or won a national championship. Now things are going to be a little bit different. And Alabama's brand is still going to sell for sure. But if we're just being 100% transparent, you're not going to be able to use that as much as you once could. And that's not just coming from me. That's coming from people in the program. I mean, it's a fact. So unfortunately, they definitely are going to have to start paying some more NIL money. But there's ways where, I mean, like you can cut stuff out of your. Well, I guess that wouldn't count. Schools can't pay. That's the crazy thing. Schools can't contribute, so you're relying on your boosters in your NIL program. If it's about the money, Ryan's headed to Texas, but I believe he loves Bama. I could be wrong. He definitely seems like he really likes Alabama. I mean, Mbakwe, the corner, him and Ryan Williams seem to be close. They seem to really be tight when they were on that visit this weekend. I know Ryan really likes the coaches here, the guys that are recruiting them. But again, you never know when it comes to money, man, because some guys, you never know their situation. And sometimes there's parents or family that's saying, hey, you're not about to turn down $1 million here. I don't care how much you love the school. I hate to be like that, but that's the reality of it, guys. I mean, that's what you're dealing with. Will they lean on pride and tradition or break the bank? I think you got to have the right balance. Then we play a little 4-2-5 this past year. Yeah, Jeremiah. So we've been playing a nickel defense of 4-2-5 for years now, right? I mean, even the last few years, we played it probably 90% of the time. We only get in regular or 3-4 base. At least, well, I'll say we were only getting that maybe 10% of the snaps. I mean, it honestly became rare. So that's not the difference. The difference with Kane Womack's defense is his defensive philosophy and the way they play their coverages, the way they attack things, the way they fit things. That's totally different. That's what I'm referring to, like the details of the defense, not the personnel. 4-2-5 personnel. Yeah, you're right. We've been playing that for a while. So that's not really anything new. I mean, yeah, we won't have a 3-4 base, but we only played that maybe 10% of the time. I'm with you, Christian. Stop hosting and bring the player in for negotiations. I wouldn't empty the bag on any player. We think about it, any outcomes possible. 100%. I'm with you. All right, here we go.
On a Monday, hope you're doing well. Final segment of the show. We got a lot to get into still. A lot of people to chat with. Again, keep those chats coming in. We go back through, watch it, rewatch, and we respond to you. That's for sure. Shout out to John over in Aiken, South Carolina. My good friends there. They own a nice cigar shop. Big Alabama fans. I met them here in Lexington, South Carolina. I see them on the app. So shout out to my good friends there that's been a part of the show. That being said, 205-342-9904. Let's take it to the people, Noah. Let's talk with our good friend Ellis. I saw he was in a bunch of snow this morning. Ellis, good Monday.
Good Monday morning.
Roll Tide.
Monday evening, just about it. Yeah, roll Tide.
Tide.
Roll Tide.
Where were you at in that snow?
That's still snow on the ground up here.
Wow.
Really?
Oh, yeah, yeah. I'm looking at snow right now where I'm at right now.
Dang. Yeah, it's sunny out here.
Yeah, it's still here.
Dang.
Crazy. I'm ready for springtime.
Me too.
Me too. It's
ready for
47
springtime.
degrees and, yeah.
Ready to go drop a line in the lake or a pond or something and catch fish.
That sounds right up my alley.
Yes.
I would
It
say
sounds like
to me
a-
so I can fry them, but I can't have fried food no more, so I have to grill it.
That's
So
right.
I'm not that fried. But it sounds like us fans are going to have to up the ante and fork out some money.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, that's where it's kind of
Alabama. You know, I'm going to tell you, I'm going to. You know, I ain't going to be able to fork out a whole lot, but every little bit helps.
Every little bit helps, and it's a sustainable model when you get tens of thousands of people fans that can give $25 or $50 a month or $10 a month. If you think about that, over all the fans that Alabama has, that's a lot of money. But those things are sustainable.
Yeah.
What's not sustainable is asking particular boosters to continue to give 100, 500,000. That's not going to happen. That's not sustainable.
Mm-mm. But as fans, you know, the ones that's a griping, you know, because we ain't got this, we ain't got that. Reach down in that big old pocket of yours and come out with some money.
Money, 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 money.
I mean, but
What it takes.
unfortunately, there's probably a good bit of people that don't. You know, I mean, that's why I hated that. That's why I think they need to fix it to where the schools can contribute and use some of that TV money or the other money that they generate. Just because, I mean, there's so much money that's generated, at least for these big schools. And you just got to feel for some of the fans that, you know, they want to help out, but they might not have it. Right. And it's, I don't know. I'm always going to be on the fan side because I really appreciate everything that they do. I know how much they care about the program, but the good news is when you do support something like Alabama, they give you stuff in return. So it's not like you're just paying and not getting. They have a lot of cool opportunities, which is nice.
I just want in return good players. You know, somebody that wants to play right about it.
You know, maybe if they like gave you like a certificate, they treat it like stocks. I'm a big stock guy. Maybe they treat it like that. Like, hey, you know, you invest in the program. You're a shareholder in the Crimson Tide. It makes you feel like you're part of the team ownership. That'd be kind of cool. Maybe they could do something like that. I'm sure people would love a little certificate saying that they have shares in the Crimson Tide football team or athletics in general.
But it just looks like what it's going to. You know, you're going to have big pockets. There's a coal company down there, a mining company called Drummond Coal Company. They got big, deep pockets down there now.
They do.
Remember that coal company to write a check and get Ryan Williams to me, because he's the biggest thing that Caleb DeBoer can do right now is get Ryan Williams. That should be everything. All right, Ellis, we got to go, brother. Appreciate the phone call. We'll talk to you tomorrow. Let's try to get Digger in real quick. Digger, you there?
Yeah, you sure you're going to get Ryan Williams?
I'm not sure if they got the right money. Well, I know Texas got a lot of money.
Well, I mean, that's no secret. I mean, come on. The truth of the matter
I know
is
Texas
that
will.
he committed.
I know Texas will pay him.
No secret there either. Just like everybody else, you got to play. You got to pay to play. And we figured that out after A&M pulled that crap a couple of years ago. They were just too stupid enough they couldn't keep the players. They had an idiot coach. And that's the truth.
I don't know what the world they were doing.
I can only imagine how mad those boosters are.
And, yeah,
paid all that money, and then all the guys are gone.
The point I was trying to make is it's not going to only be money. You better have somebody in place to train this guy to get him to the NFL. That's what he wants. He wants that generation money. NIL is small potatoes now. I know it's small potatoes and it's a lot of money to you guys, but I'm telling you, $600,000 for Isaiah Bond is a drop in the bucket. And don't you think Isaiah Bond's going to say something to him when he shows up at Texas next week?
Yeah,
Good.
and he's gonna get $1 million, and Bond will get 600.
Money for everybody.
Hey, look, and I'm telling you, Sarkisian knows his players. If he thinks this guy's a real moneymaker and he can help out the program, he will pay. But you got to also know Chris Jackson, NFL coach. Okay, he coaches the receivers, and he's done a wonderful job with the receivers here at Texas.
That's fair.
Dang. All right,
Digger,
man, that's
roll,
good stuff
man.
right there, Digger. We appreciate it. I know it's time we got to wrap it up, man, for Ryan Fowler to jump on. Appreciate it, but, listen, Bond and Williams, Texas, whoa, that's scary. All right, Christian, Noah, thank y'all so much. Been a great show. We got to make room for Ryan Fowler and get into the game. I know folks are calling in. If you're on hold, go stay right there. Brian would definitely take your phone calls. All right, it's been the Miller's Edge on the Tide 100.9, 1230 AM WTBC. We're the home of Alabama Crimson Tide Sports. God bless you. We'll get with you tomorrow. Take care.
Appreciate you guys. We'll see you tomorrow.